Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and that is for our colleagues and companies in Singapore. Good morning to the people on this side, West, Central, South, and East Africa. My name is Ginette Simenou, and I'm the Senior Business Development Manager at Enterprise Singapore, based in Ghana, covering West and Central Africa. It is my utmost pleasure to have you today for this roundtable that will focus on transport and logistic opportunities and unveiling Africa growth opportunities, specifically in land, rail, and logtech. Before we kickstart the session, everybody present is on default mute. Okay. During the session, if anyone has any question, you can put it in the Q&A in the tab. During the Q&A session, we will address them. And if you have further queries, you can raise your hand and we will give the floor to you. Just a disclaimer as well, this session is currently being recorded for internal review and marketing purposes. Okay, so we can kickstart the session. Again, good afternoon and good morning. Today, this roundtable will really dive and to speak on Africa transport and logistics. And the focus will really be for us to unveil opportunities across the continent, specifically on land, rail, and logtech solution. Africa has a total population of 1.5 billion. And this number is projected to increase by 950 million. That will reach a total of 2.5 billion by 2050. Enterprise Singapore very early understood the importance of this continent. So we have 4 regional offices that we have set across the continent. One in Accra, Ghana, that focuses on West and Central Africa with the key markets, Ghana, Nigeria, Cote d'Ivoire, and Senegal. Another office in East Africa that covers specifically in Nairobi, Kenya, with priority market being Kenya, Tanzania, Mozambique, and Uganda. Another office that we have in South Africa, Johannesburg, that covers the Southern African region with specific emphasis on the priority market, South Africa, Angola, Namibia. And then we have the Northern Africa that is taken care of by our Dubai office due to language and cultural similarities. According to some of the projection, the urban population share in Africa for 2024 is expected to be around 40 to 42% of the total population, which indicates a significant rise in urbanization across the continent. Africa transport and logistics sector is characterized by significant potential for growth. And this is due to the continent's vast size and natural resources. However, Africa is currently hampered by inadequate infrastructure, particularly in road and rail network, which leads to high logistic costs and inefficiencies. Which then bring me to speak to you on the AFCTA, which has been launched in 2021. And it's actually African transportation and logistic industry, the largest free trade area in the world, not only by population, but also by geographic size. It connects 54 nations in Africa to form a single market for goods and services, and will have a significant impact on the African transport and logistic industry, Namely, it will help boost intra-African trade. It will also create a unified custom union. It will also remove trade barriers and import costs, which will then reduce trading problems caused by different regulation between African countries, and will also will create unified custom union. And again, one of the main points, it will also improve e-commerce and contribute to establishing regional value chains in Africa. What you're seeing right now is some of the upcoming trade corridor projects in Africa, which present actually opportunities for our Singapore companies. We have various corridors: Abidjan Lagos Road, Lomé Sikense Railway, Bamako Dakar, and this is really just to name those. What we realize is that most of those projects are projects that are funded by either the World Bank or the Islamic Bank for some of those projects. Right now, I would like us to delve into the key trends, challenges, and opportunity presented by the transport and logistics sector in Africa. Digitalization in logistics is playing a very notable role in the facilitation of trade and logistic expansion and penetration across Africa. Africa's e-logistic platform are expanding across the continent, looking to streamline cross-border supply chains. So what we have there, we see some of the trend, for example, digital transformation and cyber securities. We realize that some of the companies are increasingly turning to digital technologies because they really need to streamline the processes and help to create more value through those supply chains. We also note the surge in digital adoption, including route optimization, load monitoring, demand prediction, payment and transaction, and many other aspects of the supply chain, all geared towards improving efficiency. So that tells you that those are some of the solutions that are needed on the continent. Now, given the importance of data creation, use, and storage, cybersecurity is more critical to protecting sensitive information and safeguarding organizational processes. What we realize on the continent is that cybercrime is increasing, yet many businesses are not equipped to actually repulse the attack, highlighting the need for cybersecurity measures and solutions. So as a result of that, most of the businesses, including logistics service providers, are investing in strong cybersecurity infrastructure to safeguard their operations and data against malicious actors. Furthermore, we see that the need for cybersecurity legislation and policies are growing across the continent. Another point that we note is automation and robotic in logistics. Automation and robotics have emerged as a key trend in Africa's supply chain and logistic industry, owing to the need for increased efficiency, cost effectiveness, and precision. This includes a wide range of technology that are being adopted at various levels of the supply chain and are actually fueled by Internet of Things, operational technology advancement as well. We also observe the adoption of automated logistics system in some parts of the continent, as well as the launch of automated warehouses, as more and more companies are seeking to improve efficiency, lower labor costs, streamline supply chain processes, and fasten, and also need for more accurate operation. We also realized the growing need for e-commerce and the need for last mile delivery. Now, the African e-commerce market is expected to surpass 500 million active users by the end of 2025, pointing to a steady 17.9% compound annual growth rate from 2017. Now, because of improved internet and mobile connectivity, the continent's population is increasingly turning to e-commerce for a variety of products ranging from groceries and household goods to personal care and fashion items. Efficient last mile delivery solutions have become a focal point for logistic providers seeking to meet the evolving customer demands. Now, the rise of e-commerce and the desire for quick and dependable deliveries have resulted in innovation in last mile logistics that actually overcome obstacles such as the lack of reliable address systems in many African countries, safety and security, and poor transportation infrastructure. As the markets in Africa expand, it is expected to reach a value of USD 2.35 billion in 2030, which is up from 1.14 billion in 2021. Another trend that is observed is green logistics. Now, sustainability in logistics and transportation became more prominent, we realized, in 2023. And there was a growing awareness of the industry's environmental impacts, as well as a greater urgency to address the global climate crisis. To reduce greenhouse gas emissions, logistics service providers are implementing green practices, such as decarbonizing urban fleets, switching to renewable energy sources, and optimizing route planning. Should it be in logistics and transportation? As consumers place more value and direct their purchasing power towards sustainable trade offerings, companies must conform to the green revolution in order to maintain their market share. So sustainable logistics now and in the future not only align with global environmental goals, but also responds to the demand of environmentally conscious consumers. Companies are adopting GPS and data analytics to improve fleet management, track goods in real time, and optimize route planning. The use of telematics for real-time tracking of vehicles and cargo, and fleet management systems being used to optimize route, reduce fuel consumption, and improve safety. We also realize the great adoption of AI for predictive analytics in demand forecasting and automation of warehousing to enhance operational efficiency. Blockchain technology is also being used to enhance transparency and traceability in supply chain. This is particularly important in sectors like agriculture, pharmaceutical, where authenticity and quality are critical. Logistic tech companies across this continent have three trends that we have observed that actually will shape the future of logistics in the African markets. Those three specific trends are the need to close the urban-rural divide, the digitalization of logistics, as I mentioned earlier, and the continued rise of B2B logistic companies. African logistic companies are going beyond megacities and are looking to connect Africa's rural communities to regional supply chains. So while megacities are really attracting millions of young Africans, the population remain predominantly rural, and a sparse population and lack of adequate road infrastructure in rural areas leave a substantial portion of the population disconnected from supply chain. Thus, the need to close this urban-rural divide is actually one of the next frontier of African logistics. Just to give you a few examples of companies that are doing that across the continent. Twiga Food is connecting produce supply from rural economies to urban consumers by linking farmers directly with vendors on an easy-to-access platform. We also see Inspira Farms that approach the challenge of rural logistics from a different angle. And what they do, they use off-grid solar solution to be able to provide cold storage for farmers. Now, the flexibility provided by on-site cold storage increases opportunities for farmers to actually be able to participate in regional supply chains. Solutions like the one provided by this firm will continue to integrate the rural and city markets, making regional logistics way more efficient. The most innovative logistic companies in Africa markets are actually developing digital platforms to deliver efficient and cost-effective logistic capabilities. Those companies do not have to completely reinvent how logistics work in African countries. Goods are still transported by motorcycle, car, trucks, and boats. The innovation here really lies in the development of digital platforms that match supply to the demand, whether it be courier, apps that deliver grocery, or platforms that coordinate freight delivery. In Egypt, for example, firms like Trailer and Kobo 360 Nigeria found their success in actually matching existing tracking capacity with demand using digital platforms. The growing internet penetration across the continent is increasing market connectivity by putting more customers online and allowing businesses to use cloud services. This trend will continue to drive innovation in the logistics sector as African startups find ways to cut out intermediaries, remove burdensome operational processes, and again, optimize supply chains. We also know that business-to-business focused startup will continue to drive the growth of African logistics sector, while consumer-facing logistic players are seeing promising growth due to the rapid urbanization and rising e-commerce penetration. Enterprise-focused companies are also expected to dominate Africa's logistics sector in the short to medium term. In a recent survey of top African logistic companies, we realized that 87% of respondents run businesses focused on B2B solutions, compared to 5% who only targeted B2C services. Two of the trends that we realize are influencing the growth of the number of B2B logistic companies are low demand for consumer goods due to low purchasing power in many African countries, and also the lack of reliable address for last mile delivery. And as a result of that, the most viable options for logistics startup will continue to meet the needs of those businesses. SocoWatch, a Nairobi-based B2B startup, has embraced this opportunity by focusing on supply chains for retailers in the informal sectors of African markets. The company's decision to focus on B2B markets is actually quite understandable, considering African companies spent 2.6 billion on B2B services in 2015. That this figure is expected to grow by another $1 trillion by 2025. Some of the African countries really struggle with logistics, are certainly not behind them. So while actually closing the physical infrastructure gap that plagues the continent, The continent will still require billions of dollars in investment for tech-enabled logistic companies, which are improving supply chain and optimizing existing infrastructure in African markets. I'm going to dive on the railway in Africa. And what we realize is that the railway network in Africa represents 8% of the global length of railway lines into the continent surface area and substantial population. And this accounts for 23% and 17% respectively of the world's total. The current situation of the railway is a result of multiple challenges faced by African railways, which have not only hindered their commercial opportunities, but also, in a way, discouraged private investors. While rail transport faces similar constraints and challenges in other regions, Africa's railway sector is worsened by adverse economic, technological, and institutional conditions. So some of the key issues that we have identified in the rail sector is the prioritization of road investment while neglecting railway development and maintenance, inadequate railway infrastructure for commercial exploitation due to the deteriorated condition, inefficient and outdated rolling stocks, just to name those. Despite that, Africa holds a strong potential for the development of the railway sector throughout the region. And some of the key factors that are actually contributing to this potential, encompass the growth in transport demand, which is driven by the economic growth in Africa, which result in increased demand for both freight and passenger transport, as well as for improved infrastructure. Another point is the increased competitiveness in global supply chains, demanding better, more efficient, and integrated logistic chains. Another point is the growing number and size of large metropolitan regions, which require efficient mass transport system for new urban areas. Now, we also realize that the new mining development with growing production volume require high capacity transport infrastructure of handling large volume of mining products. The presence of 16 landlocked countries in Africa, each with substantial requirement for access to seaport, characterized by elevated level of capacity, efficiency, and reliability. Another point, and not the least, is the growing awareness of transport externalities, which leads to a rising demand for enhanced transport infrastructure with better energy efficiency and reduced emission. The railway sector in Africa presents a significant opportunity for growth despite the challenges, right? So some of the opportunity the African railway sector is in the area of infrastructure development, freight transportation, passenger transport, regional integration, urban rail system, technology advancement, maintenance and repair services, and training and capacity building. Some of the challenges observed in the railway sector are high capital costs. Okay, also the outdated infrastructure, as I mentioned earlier, the lack of cross-border coordination, and competition from road transport. What we realize is that the key players of the railway sector are African Union, the African Development Bank, just to name those. when it comes to green sustainability, I have a slight challenge with my slide here. When it comes to green sustainability, we actually realize that there is a great deal of improvement in the region across the continent, should it be west, east, south, and north. We see the development, the increase of green mobility, should it be in terms of two-wheelers, three-wheelers, and even mass transportation, the need and presence of e-buses for mass transportation. So talking about green mobility and all those two and three-wheelers, they also call for EV infrastructure, such as charging stations and all the amenities, which we see are more and more present in the region, but those are also needed from the market. So those present opportunity for our Singapore companies in that area to be able to also provide solutions in that regard. Some of the challenges that we observe in the markets are mainly challenges that are referring to high logistic costs, fragmented or opaque information and data, infrastructure gaps, also bureaucratic hurdles and insecurities. We've done some research, and across the region, we have been able to solve some opportunities in land, rail, and logtech per region. So in West Africa, for example, we have project opportunities, companies that are needing training opportunities, specifically when it comes to EV maintenance, and also EV where facilities, okay, so EV maintenance, EV training, and EV needs for infrastructure in EV and training as well. So in Côte d'Ivoire, we have few opportunities with companies such as Auto24 and with associations such as APEM that are in need for those solutions. And we realize that there is a very short windows of opportunities as we realize the increased number of EV vehicles present on the market. Another opportunity that we have is the need for sourcing of EV battery recycling solutions. One of the companies in the market called Wahoo is interested to look at EV battery recycling solutions for their business, right? Another company, 6EV, is also looking to acquire three-wheelers and also eco-friendly buses. They're currently working on few similar projects, both in Ghana and Nigeria. We also have a company in Senegal called PAPS that is looking to secure 100 two-wheelers EV bike for a start. Now, the particularity, and we realized an increased demand in the market for EV comes with a need for financial model where the company signed a contract with the provider and the drivers pay for those bikes on installment. So usually when those companies are looking to source two-wheelers, in some instances, they also require to be able to obtain some kind of financial model. In East Africa, we have various opportunities. The development of special economic zone, companies such as Mitchell Coates, looking at warehousing projects where they are looking at automation solutions for warehouse enhancement. Also, Alpha Global Logistic, also into warehousing projects, looking at warehouse development and automation enhancement, as well as workflow automation. Another company such as Seul Mobility is looking to acquire EV and batteries. Another company, Green Wheels, is also looking to acquire EV two-wheelers for partnership with a leading hailing app that is on the market. Another company, Ecotrify, is looking to also acquire electric vehicles for supplies to clients in Kenya. In Southern Africa, we have few opportunities with companies such as Montepuez, Cargo Center, and Industrial Park. So they are really looking at, they have few projects where they are looking to construct Montepuez, Cargo Center, Industrial Park. So this really gives opportunity for our companies in that sector to partake in such projects. Another project, the 34 South Green Shipbreaking Facility project, which involved the development of a ship lift to bring east vessel out of the water, keeping the vessel contents from the sea and achieving containment during scrapping. So those are some of the solutions that our companies are looking, the companies on the ground are looking to adopt. Another project is the Trendale Industrial Development Logistic Project, which involved the construction of warehouses at Trentable Industrial Development, which is situated in Port Elizabeth in the city of Eastern Cape Province in South Africa. So the project comprises 6 warehouses, so which really give another opportunity for a Singapore company to provide solution in that particular sector. In Northern Africa, we also have few opportunities, mainly in Egypt. So the Trans-African Highway project, which aims to connect Cairo to Cape Town. And we also have the Bus Rapid Transit project, which is currently being implemented by the Ministry of Transport. And it's being implemented in 2 phases with 49 stations on the Ring Road at a cost of approximately 9.5 billion Egyptian. When it comes to rail opportunities, we realize that in our market, there are more and more development of rail projects. In Senegal, for example, in West Africa, there is a project which is a Dakar Tramway project. So they are looking to build a network of urban tram of 35 kilometers. So looking to install equipment and rolling stock, building of stops, deposit and signage, and building an equipment maintenance center and a post of command and supervision. So in that particular sector, yes, there is opportunities for our Singapore companies, though few, in the sector to be able to partake in such projects. In East Africa, we have projects such as Tazara, which is in Tanzania and Zambia, which are looking to refurbish the Tanzania-Zambia Railway Authority railway. So it's a 1,860 kilometers railway, which is actually crucial for transporting cargo from Zambia, for Zambia's copper and cobalt mines to Tanzania coast. We also have few opportunities in Southern Africa. The GO Train network expansion, which is the construction of 12 new trains in Johannesburg, which is in South Africa. National Rail Network Modernization Program, which is a rail network and old in Mozambique. And it's a project that actually linked by railway to different mining regions, as well as the neighboring countries of Southern Africa, such as Malawi, Zambia, and Zimbabwe. And there's also another project that is the Trans-Zambezi Railway Extension, which is the construction of the railway from Grootfontein to Katina in Namibia. And it's also part of a multinational railway line between Namibia and Zambia. And there is another project, which is the Angola to Namibia railway link projects. We also have railway opportunity in Northern Africa, in Egypt, so specifically the Egyptian National Railway. And we also have the 6 October Luxor Aswanabu Symbol Railway. So those are railway projects in Northern Africa, specifically in Egypt. So with what we've spoken about, we're really trying to see and understand how to match the various opportunities that we found on the ground with Singapore capabilities. So we observe the need, as I mentioned, there are needs in land transport, rail, and logtech. And the opportunities cut across need for enhanced efficiency and security across the value chain, cargo clearing, transport warehouse, last mile delivery, of special economic zone, growing demand for quality warehouses as well. So some of the solutions can provide is digital solution to help really enhance border operation for fast and efficient custom clearance. Solutions that are actually able to leverage advanced technologies such as IoT, AI, and blockchain, as well as some other opportunity that we see are in electric mobility. So there is a need for battery, for eco-friendly buses, two-wheelers and three-wheelers, and again, an increasing need for training in those areas. That brings us to the next part of my presentation, which will be a poll that the team will put on the screen. And this poll is really to be able to find out from our companies their interest to participate in upcoming transport and logistics. So this information session is always a prelude to what we organize in market, which are specific targeted missions across the continent. So please, I give 30 seconds to more for everybody to be able to respond to the poll. Okay. I'm sure we have completed the poll. Thanks so much for taking the time to listen to the first part and to also responding to the poll. What we are looking to do right now, we have brought in experts across the region in transport and logistics, specifically in the areas that we are focusing on today, land and logtech. So without further ado, I would like us to move to the panel. So I'm going to share with you. I think we're done with the poll, so we can pull the poll down. Thanks. So we have called today a few experts to be on the panel with us to be able to really discuss the opportunities, the trend, and also speak on the TNL sector across the region. So we have Delali Ochi, who is the CEO and founder of 6EV. We have Maha Ali, Managing Director of TMF Group, and Raghav Gandhi, who is the CEO of Africa Logistic Partners, which we'll say ALP. So to kickstart, I will ask our panelists to give us a brief introduction, okay? And this introduction will encompass the region that they cover, the specific market that they cover, and in a few lines, a bit of an introduction of the company. So since we only have one lady, I'm gonna start with you, Maha.
Thank you so much. And I'm really happy to be with you today. And thank you for the attendees. We really wish for this session to be informative and beneficial for you all. Just to give you a quick introduction, I'm Maha Ali. I'm the GM and a country lead of TMF Egypt. And TMF Egypt is an affiliate of TMF Group. We're service provider for business support services, which a one-stop shop for all the services that an investor or an entrepreneur or a company to expand and operate in other regions. TMF serve in more than 85 countries across 125 offices around the world. TMF Egypt is mainly concerned with supporting the investors and the entrepreneur to start their business, expand their business and operate in Egypt. We're proud to be partner of our clients in their business in Egypt, making sure that they are following the laws and regulations, they are already have the right setup for their business, the right licenses for their sector, and keeping them in compliance with all the requirements regarding the regulatory or accounting and tax or HRB. As I said, we just offering a one-stop shop to make sure that we're giving a comprehensive knowledge about the Egyptian market, everything anyone might need to know about this sector, and what they need to do in order to operate in Egypt.
Thank you so much, Maha, for this introduction. I will move on to Delali Ochi. Delali, the floor is over to you.
Thank you very much, Jeanette, for putting this up. My name is Delali Ochi. I'm an engineer based in Accra, Ghana, and the founder of 6EV Mobility, which is purely an e-mobility platform with the two-wheelers, three-wheelers, and then possibly moving into four-wheelers and buses. We operate in West Africa, and we're based in Ghana and Nigeria, and very soon we're moving into Sierra Leone. My background, personally, I have 15 years in engineering across West Africa. And then we founded 6EV about 3 years ago to move into the green mobility space and try to deploy two-wheelers and three-wheelers for last mile delivery. The concept, especially with the research we did in Ghana and Nigeria, is that the last mile delivery for the e-commerce business was lacking, especially in West Africa, unlike in East Africa where the market is a bit developed. So our idea is to conquer the whole of the West African region, the whole ECOWAS sub-region, starting with Ghana, where I come from originally. And we started with a pilot, about 100 bikes in both Ghana and Nigeria, with 100 bikes on the road with swapping technology, and work with the delivery companies to complete the last mile delivery. The idea also is to venture into energy as a service to build an infrastructure network across Ghana and Nigeria, where e-vehicles can come to our swap stations and swap energy, and then continue their journey, taking care of the range anxiety in the value chain. And yeah, we're glad to be part of this program to share ideas on what we've been uncovered so far in these two large markets, Ghana being a smaller market, Nigeria being a very big market and a very complex place to work. But we've been here for the last 15 years trying to understand the complexities of the market, and we're here to share. Very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Delali. Last but not least, Raghav Gandhi, please, I'll give the floor to you. Can you give us an introduction?
Thanks, Jeanette, and I guess good morning or good afternoon to everyone. My name is Raghav Gandhi. I serve as the Chief Executive Officer for Africa Logistics Properties. It's not partners, which is a specialized real estate developer of industrial real estate, institutional grade industrial real estate. Essentially, what that involves is we work in the warehousing, light manufacturing, and some other niche spaces like data centers. So we do the development of that. Our current asset portfolio is comprised of about 70,000 square meters, which we've developed in Nairobi in two parks. One is called Alp North, and the other is called Alp West, which are in major, I would say, logistics hubs with access to the correct, corridors for transport and logistics management. The aim is, of course, to expand that portfolio. The remit is across Africa, but I initially envisage that we will be looking at expansion opportunities across East Africa, so within the region first, and then thereafter we will see how things progress. Our founding shareholders are largely majority development finance institutions, International Investment, and IFC, who obviously saw the significant impact that institutional grade industrial warehousing can provide to the occupiers in terms of boosting their supply chain efficiencies, and thereafter then obviously having an impact on the economic potential of an economy. Aside from those two, we also have some impact investors, family offices that are focused on the African continent. Personally, I've been in the real estate space for almost 20 years, worked across a number of emerging markets, having delivered about 3.5 million square feet, and having fundraised and done business development and asset management as well.
Thank you so much, Raghav, for this information. Thanks to Maha and to Delali as well. I wanted to really dive straight into the panel discussion. We have a great number of Singapore companies present today, right? And hearing from you, it gives them an opportunity to hear firsthand from players in the market on the different verticals under the transport and logistic. So my question to you, to all of you, and we can start with whoever wants to take the floor, is to understand, right? So can you share with us some of the projects that you have? Okay, should it be ongoing project or future project, right? This will give an opportunity to our Singapore companies present to understand what are some of the opportunities that are actually present in the market, and from hearing it directly from you. So that's the first point. So the key project, just to share that, and where specifically those projects, and what are the needs and the challenges of those projects you currently have. So I don't know, Delali or Raghav, if you would like to kickstart. Maha, I know that you do have opportunities across I would say Egypt, Northern Africa with Egypt as a gateway. So please also do share with us if you have any ongoing future projects, the needs and the challenges that those particular projects face.
Sure. As you mentioned, and thank you for that. During the presentation, you already mentioned a group of projects that are taking place in Egypt. Actually, I have it has to be mentioned that Egypt during the previous or recent years developed a lot and invested a lot in the enhancement of the transport and logistic field, transporting the or enhancing the infrastructure for connecting the governance in Egypt and connecting also the neighboring countries. Beside the project that you have mentioned, Egypt already had a couple of other projects that aim to connect, as I mentioned, even the governance in Egypt or also the neighboring countries. One of them, and it's actually a very promising project, is the dry port, where Egypt is planning to have like 14 dry ports in order to increase the total capacity of the warehouses and the areas that being used for the warehouses, the transportation. One of these has already been implemented and effective, which is October Dry Port, and it's a huge space of 400,000 square meters of warehouses connected to 4,300 meters of rail lines in 5 lines, and this helped to connect Cairo to other governance and as well to the neighboring countries on the borders with Egypt. Egypt already have a strategic location with Middle East as well. So there is already another project to connect the Red Sea with the Mediterranean, with the Gulf of Al-Aqaba, in order to make commercial corridors with the neighboring countries. As we are seeing the TNL sector in Egypt is blooming, whether B2B or B2C as well. We are seeing a lot of entrepreneurs establishing their companies in this field, blooming, and they're already being enhanced. The challenges and what is actually being enhanced the most currently is automating this process. So this has been already started with finding a platform that combine everything that you might need for this sector, registering these shipments, getting everything from the governmental authorities, because in Egypt there's a lot, like around 4 governmental entities, they all connected to each other in order to serve this sector. We have the General Authority of Road, Bridge and Land Transport. There is the Egyptian National Railways. There's the Ministry of Transport. Also recently, the Egyptian Post Authority got into the business in order to licensing the companies who want to work on B2B and B2C logistics on ground in Egypt. So this platform is aiming to collect everything that you might need from these governmental authorities. And if we're talking also about the international transport, so we're gonna get the Custom Clearance Authority also involved. So the platform actually enhanced a lot. You can register now your shipment before you even departing the shipment from the shipper, and you can get all the documents sorted out, all the procedures sorted out. You're gonna get the support that you might need. From our perspective, as a business partner for our clients and for the investors, we see that the automation is still there's a lot of rooms for enhancement. We can get that more also on tracking the shipment, especially with having this dry port in addition to the main ports in Egypt. So you can have a more automated process and analytical data for the shipments, the warehouses where you keep it, and the railways that you can use it fast and quick in order to facilitate and ease the logistics. There is a lot, as I said, of the ongoing projects, and there is a lot of opportunity for the private sector to partner with the government in order to implement that. For example, the October Dry Port that has been operated is already a partnership and a joint venture venture between a private sector company, a foreign investor, and the Egyptian government. And the same would be replicated for each one of the 14 dry port that is planning to be established in Egypt, which is a very huge and great opportunity to get the private sector involved in just mega projects. The challenges I might sort it out in 2 points. The awareness and the knowledge of the local laws and regulation, what actually the best legal form of entities you need to set your company in, what the licenses that you need to get, where you need to go, and when you get this license, before you establish your company or after. This is very important, and this might be a roadblock for anyone out of Egypt wanting to step in. That's very important to get the knowledge. The second point is to find a partner with a network coverage for the logistics, because as I said, there was a lot of enhancement. This facilitated and enhanced the process of the logistics and reaching out to all the governments in Egypt and also to other countries. But again, finding the right partner with the right coverage is one of the challenges that we support, and it will be important to highlight it before you start actually your business in Egypt.
Okay, thanks so much, Maha. And that's quite interesting to know, because one of the things that will be of interest for our Singapore companies, hearing the various opportunities and given the nature of the business that you have, it'd be very interesting for them to really understand how they can really seize some of those opportunities, right? How they can be able to partake in some of those projects. So I guess by reaching out to you, it's something that can actually give them access to some of those projects, and afterwards then help them to navigate the terrain. Am I correct?
Definitely. Actually, just exploring the market, what would be maybe the tenders that might be announced in Egypt? What is the mega or the big companies that are already working in this sector, and what are the partners that they are looking for, whether it's from tech perspective, from training perspective, as you have mentioned, or even from TNL sector for a partnership and so on. And the most important, as I mentioned, the knowledge. So even if finding a partner is easy and it's an open source that you can find on the governmental portal or on the business website, but getting the knowledge about, as I mentioned, the licenses, the procedures, the timeline, getting an on-ground support to get actually your joint venture or your company set it up is something that we definitely offer for all our clients and for the Singaporean investors as well.
Thanks so much, Maha, for this very comprehensive sharing that you have done. Delali, would you like to share a bit on some of the projects? Should it be current or future project that you're working on, and the need of those projects and the opportunities that they actually present for the Singapore companies that are present during this session?
All right, thank you very much, and thank you for the question. Well, currently we are on an extensive expansion drive across Ghana, where we are securing from OEMs. We've got quotations from quite a few very specific vehicles for our roads. The 2-wheelers and the 3-wheelers we are looking for the Ghana market. We have an understanding with the government of Ghana. The new government of Ghana is about to undertake what we call a 24-hour economy system, which has an element of e-commerce and delivery around the clock. So the plan is to tie into that project and deliver for the first 1 year to the tune of about 1,000 to 2,000 2-wheelers, which are all going to be electric, with the equivalent number of swapping stations at various locations. So this we are doing in partnership with the national oil company, the Ghana Oil. We have an understanding with them currently in Ghana. The idea is to get a lot of the young people who find it difficult to acquire the bicycles to the motorcycles to get on the road and do deliveries and earn a living, decent living for that matter. We have a massive project with the government of Rivers State in Nigeria, where we've been contracted also to deploy eco-friendly buses with charging stations and then also three-wheelers for the government of Rivers State. Now, this is Nigeria is a federal system, so I'm going to highlight a bit more of what goes on there, where you have the state governments take charge of their destiny and deploy services to help their citizens. So Rivers State, I think after Lagos State, is the next big economy after Lagos State. And they have contracted us also to come onto the roads, not in a bus rapid transport, but using the associations to bring them electric buses. So we are looking for good, strong, tropicalized. Those are the keywords. They need to be tropicalized. They need to be good for our roads. We have very horrible roads in Africa. So we are looking for the right type of product to deploy. And then with the charging stations, we need to be a bit innovative. The market in Nigeria, electricity is a problem. So we need to get creative in that sense. We need the right innovation, the right solutions to charge these, to power the charging stations, more like. There's a need for digital payment solutions to be able to get payment. We use a lot of USSD payment in Ghana. If you follow in digital payments penetration, it's the best so far in Africa. From the last news I said, I think we've got 100%, where every village, every tiny hamlet has digital payments reaching across. So we need products that will fit on this infrastructure to get payments for our swapping, our charging. What we intend to do in the future for our two-wheeler battery swapping is to make sure it can be used in the villages to charge phones, to power laptops, and so there's a lot of innovation that comes with the whole ecosystem and what we're trying to design as a company. Back to Nigeria. Nigeria is Ghana is a 31 million population. Nigeria is a 250 million to 350 million population. So it's a whole different beast that we're dealing with. So some of the solutions that might work for Ghana might not necessarily work for Nigeria, but there's room for innovation, companies that want to look into technology, how to power our swap station, how to power our charging station, and companies that have interest in good quality buses. You need to come and understand the dynamics of the roads. We have very horrible roads, so the components of these buses cannot be the beautiful ones you see in Singapore when I was in Singapore. No. So there's a lot of innovation, there's a lot of creativity that needs to go into thinking about working in this space for us. Challenges, definitely bureaucracy, as Maha said, a lot of bureaucracy that we need to work together with the right team, right strategy to overcome some of these hurdles. And that's why it's always good to start from state level and then get to the federal level to get all your approvals. But it's a beautiful place to work. Some of us have been born here all our life, so we're still stuck here and we're not going anywhere. So we welcome all companies that want to come form the right partnerships and get this going in West Africa.
Thanks so much, Delali, for this sharing. Raghav, I'm giving the floor to you. So can you kindly share as well with us some of the ongoing future projects and the needs for those projects specifically?
So
yes.
Oh.
Yes. Yes, sorry. That was to Raghav. Thanks so much, Delali.
Delali, if you want to answer for me, you can. You might have a better idea.
No, go ahead.
But I did
Raghav,
appreciate.
before you kick in, I just want to tell the different Singapore companies, please, if you do have any question, you can put them in the chat and we address them after the session. Thank you. Raghav, over to you. Thank you.
Thanks. I think I very much resonated with what Delali said about the road quality here in Kenya as well. So I think that's something that is a common challenge across the majority of the continent. So in terms of, I mean, as I mentioned, we've got currently two parks. One is so what is interesting, and I don't know how much folks are familiar with, the grading of warehousing, but actually what we've done is one of the parks is pure grade A. It's international quality. Those are buildings that are 12-meter height. FM2 flooring. I mean, you could take them to anywhere in any developed market and they would not look out of place. So that's a park with about 50,000 square meters of built space. Currently, it has around actually a little less than 15,000 square meters of area that is available for lease. So it's about I would say 75% occupied. We've got another park, which is 50 acres, where we've developed grade B offering. Grade B is typically lower height, and because it's lower height, that means from a volumetric perspective, you don't load up as much, and therefore the floor strength doesn't need to be as high. And one of the as pioneers as we are, I mean, just to give you a sense, actually, before I get into kind of what our plans are, currently at an institutional level, I would say the total supply of warehousing is probably around I would say around 100,000 square meters. And that represents, I would say, based on some market research that we've done, about 2% of what is the requirement in Kenya alone, right? So there's a massive need for development of, like I said, institutional grade warehousing. Typically, what you find in the market is very substandard. I don't want to offend anyone by describing them as essentially huts. They're unsafe, poor fire safety provisions, and it's just what the market has got accustomed to, and that's what that's what they've worked with, and it has worked, for all these years. And until something goes wrong, you don't realize the risks that are involved. So we are working towards changing that perception, and I think that's something we've seen in the second park that I mentioned, which is predominantly grade B, smaller units. We're at actually at about 100%. We are at 100% occupancy. So like I mentioned, we've only developed 30% of it. So we're actually going to be breaking ground on the third phase in most likely June of this year. So there's within our existing portfolio, there's already expansion that is currently in progress. But beyond that, and as I mentioned in my introduction, we're also looking at expanding our footprint beyond these two parks. We find there are still opportunities within Kenya and also beyond Kenya as well. We're hoping to add a couple of new sites, hopefully before the end of this year as well. So it's a remit, it's a mandate that we feel very strongly about. When you hear some of the horror stories and some of the flooding or some of the fires that break out in some of these sheds, it points to the fact that what we're doing is correct and is appropriate. In terms of, I think, I think for me, I can probably point to perhaps a number of areas for collaboration. One is, of course, as maybe this is going to sound very obvious, but as most people are aware real estate is a capital intensive asset, and therefore we require capital. And so to the extent that impact investors from Singapore are interested in participating in this impact story, that's something that we would be happy to have a discussion on. And there's definitely growth capital that is required, not just for Kenya, but across the region. And then I would say that, we've got, for those that are looking to establish a presence in this region, where they might be suppliers of goods, they're providing equipment for manufacturing or goods. Of course, we can also speak to you, because what you'll find is we've got a nice mix of tenants from different sectors. We've got about 45% of our tenant profile is from the agriculture, horticulture space, which is, of course, a massive export driver of the economy, of the Kenyan economy. But we also have folks that are in packaging. You mentioned Jeanette, Twiga. Twiga is one of our largest tenants. So we've got a nice mix. So that to the extent any company from Singapore is interested in establishing a presence, we would be happy to have a conversation where we can provide them facilities. I think the last one I would say is that for me, a key part in the way I think is that our success is determined by the success of our companies, of our tenants, and to the extent that there might be collaboration opportunities or synergies for our tenants, which are a number of them are heavily export oriented, whether it's kind of farm produce, flowers, and so forth. If there's an opportunity for them to maybe export to Singapore, because for those who don't know, Kenya has fantastic agriculture produce, which I think, to be honest, I don't think they do the best job of kind of getting it out there. Maybe that's because it's also required for domestic consumption, but to the extent that there might be supermarkets as part of this forum, or other companies, trading companies, we would be happy to connect you to our tenants and see if there's any opportunity there for even though it might not directly impact us, we're happy to facilitate their success.
Thank you. Thanks so much, Raga, for that. I hear what you all have mentioned, and the opportunities that each business present here offers to our Singapore company, and specifically in terms of needs. I'm just curious to understand, right? What are some of the factors that your company consider, right, when they partner with international companies?
Anyone specifically, or?
No, I mean, everybody, if you can answer, that would be good, because so that at least the Singapore companies present on this session can understand, right? So it's important if I can have a sharing from each of you. That would be helpful.
Okay. Let me quickly take that. So primarily, my background is risk. I'm a risk engineer. So everything I do, all the companies I've set up over the years, there's a lot of risk elements that we put into it. So what we do is we appoint one of the top 4. As you can see on our banner, we've appointed Deloitte, who are currently our capital raise advisors and auditors. So what happens is they take the trouble to vet any specific company that we will deal with, because we try to take out a lot of risk. Like I said, the area is quite new, and there's a lot of products on the market that are not really working. We know companies that have spent millions of dollars brought in products and they are in their warehouse, they cannot deploy them on the roads. So we've given Deloitte a contract to take time and vet companies. So definitely they'll go through all the paperwork, check what the companies are doing, the track record, and then submit that to the board for a decision. Basically, we try to. There's a misconception that everything works in Africa or in Nigeria or in West Africa, but I schooled in the UK, and we bring all those practices here to make sure that whatever we are doing, we eliminate a lot of risk. We're using investors' funds. We're using people's money in the business, so we will look out for the best quality for our end users. And for us, we also have a Japanese angle to the business, and having worked with these Japanese, because they invented a lot of the battery we use is Japanese technology. There's a lot of patience in going to the market and then testing the product. So any third party that can join our supply chain will have to go through that kind of vetting process to make sure that what we're doing is all foolproof before we put the products on the roads. For us, risk, I'm a risk person. I look out for all those elements, and for me, that's what I've imbibed in the company, and we'll look out for that in sister companies or partner companies that want to work with us, so that we can map the whole solution. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks so much, Dela. Mahar, yes.
Yeah, I would answer to this question actually on 3 aspects. I would say the first aspect is the essential partnering that the investors need to get in Egypt. For example, if you're having a new business, this means that there's a specific appointment you need to have. You need to have a partnership with a local branch of the bank, for example, an auditor, for example, if you would require your business to require an employee of record or any of facilitations for the operation. From this perspective, we can put them in a trusted partner, because considering that we are the partner on ground, so we can guide them and give them the options of the market in Egypt, so they can decide to whom they're gonna be partnering with. The other aspect would be wider aspect than only Egypt, because I would consider that the Singaporean investor is not only expanding in Egypt and maybe in other countries as well. And this is something that we offer, that not only providing the services in Egypt, but also to have like a consolidated service provider for multiple countries where you are operating. You can find the same level of services, the same vendor helping you to operate in different countries as well. As I said, TMF is already operating and delivering services in multiple countries and regions as well. And the third aspect I would consider the topic of this session, which is the transport and logistics. As I said, the network and the coverage of Egypt and the governance there. This is also something that we can guide the investors on. What are the companies that they may support them? What are the consultation that they may get? What the governmental authorities that they need to be in contact with, and so on. So I believe this is what we can offer in order to help the investors operating in Egypt to get partnership with these countries or these service providers in order to fully operate in Egypt.
Thank you. Thank you so much for that. Raghav, is there anything you want to add on your side to that particular question?
Yeah, I'll just add a couple of things very quickly. I think for us, I mean, again, depends on what side. I did, talk about three areas where there's a potential collaboration, but so it depends. I think if I think about the common factors, one is, let's say, a matching of mindset, a matching of DNA. We have a strong belief in what we're trying to achieve, and I think sometimes I think it's not just about, if we're talking about, let's say, a capital investment, it's not just about looking at a pure return. You have to, take all the other things into account, and whether you believe in the what we're trying to deliver. For instance, we have a strong ethos vis-a-vis sustainability. All our buildings are green certified. And that's something that we value, where we believe we're responsible citizens of the world, and we understand that development real estate can have a massive impact on the environment, and just as an example, all our projects are actually designed to achieve net zero, in the near future, once occupancy levels reach a certain threshold. I think the other thing I would say is, for us, we don't want to necessarily collaborate or work with anyone who is kind of looking at this as a in out, right? Just testing the waters. I think coming to Africa requires patience, and making an impact in any economy, and particularly Africa, requires patience. So you have to be able to weather the storms as well as ride the waves. And if we look at the representation of all three panelists in terms of the countries, you can easily see that there have been waves as well as storms. And so I think that's something that anyone from any jurisdiction, whether it's Singapore or otherwise, needs to be aware of. And I think the other last one I would say is, where there might be opportunities for kind of boosting operational efficiencies, automation, in a very effective, cost optimized way. I think that's very appreciated. Ultimately, what anyone has to appreciate coming from Singapore is that our P&L is African and it's not Singapore. So there's certain things that we can afford and certain things we cannot.
Thank you. Thanks so much. I'm mindful of the time. I have one more question for each one of you. Thanks so much for the insight that you have shared and the information you have provided, which I'm sure have been useful to the Singapore companies present in this session. I just want to find out, and since I'm talking to you, Raghav, I'm just going to ask you, in your opinion, what's the outlook for the transport and logistics sector, and what should we expect? Right. I'm asking you this question specifically in your area of specification, right? What's the outlook? How do you see it, and what can we expect in the near future?
I think, look, the fact is that when I think about why we're here, is that there's a massive opportunity for growth, right? There's a significant shortfall in infrastructure development that to me points to a growth opportunity. If you look at within warehousing, what has been a significant driver across the globe for warehousing demand is e-commerce, right? E-commerce penetration in I think across East Africa is only probably somewhere between 10 and 15%, if that even. Whereas, across many other developed markets, it's in some places it approaches 40%. Of course, for that to happen, you need to have better access to mobile networks, better internet access. That will come about, but for that, obviously there is a heavy amount of investment that is required. I think what could be eventually the game changer, if it is to happen, is not the conceptualization, but the eventual implementation of something like a free trade zone. I think it's very easy to talk about. Yes, opening up borders is incredible. There are many, let's say, kind of what's the correct word? The frameworks that are there, which say that they encourage cross-border trade within the region, but how effective they are in actually the implementation is the big question mark. I think if we can get around all that, then you could see significant potential for growth and significant potential for investment. But again, it'll come back to it. What I mentioned previously, it's not all to happen in a day. You have to be patient and you have to wait it out.
Okay. Thanks so much, Raghav, for this. Delali, Maha, the last word on the outlook from your standpoint on the transport and logistics sector, and what should we expect?
Honestly, I couldn't agree more with Raghav regarding the massive in development and in enhancement in the infrastructure. We see, beside the expected blooming and investments in the transport and logistics field in Egypt, which is already, they are expecting an increase in the investment in 2025 rather than considering also 2030 vision that Egypt is already working on. We believe that this would also enhance other sectors. We're already seeing that manufacturing is starting to increase in Egypt because it's easy now to get your products in and out of Egypt. Technology is also blooming. Consultation is also something is going side by side with the transportation and logistics field. So the growing in one field is also enhancing and feeding other aspects. So we are expecting, beside the growth in transport and logistics, we consider that this also would feed up the other sectors, would open more venue for the foreign investments to start business in Egypt and ease their operation. And beside that, this encourage also the governmental to give more incentives to the foreign investors. We're seeing that on taxation perspective, we're seeing that on regulations. They try as much as possible to facilitate and ease the investment entrance to the Egyptian market. It's promising, to be honest, and we're only trying to keep up with the updates and trying to announce that and spread the knowledge outside Egypt. So just to try to answer the unasked questions of anyone outside the market and how they can get into that market.
Thanks so much, Maha, for that. Delali, a last word on that on your side?
Yes,
we have
just
a
to add
question
to
on the
what,
panel as well, so we'll take that after.
Yeah, just to add to what the co-panelists said, and having in mind the various growth sectors, we have a very young youth population. I use Ghana as a case study for modeling around the young population. And we saw that in the last election, where a large portion of the youth took part in the elections for the new government we have. There's a youth population that is aggressive and wants to get things done, wants to get things, move things from one place to the other, wants to use technology, wants to use payment services. And this long-term effect will affect the transportation system and then all the other aspects. Same with Nigeria, huge youth population and a lot of opportunities. There's about 60 million unbanked adult population in Nigeria. All these dynamics are going to change in a couple of years, and this will affect other sectors of growth of the West African region.
Okay, thank you so much for the time and for the question that you have asked. We have one question on the panel that is addressed to you, Maha. And the question is coming from Amit Jain. So SG investors often do not have the kind of financial heft nor the cultural advantage that UAE or Gulf investor may have in Egypt. Is there any niche space for Singapore firms to perhaps provide specialized services equipped as third party to these large ME developers who are investing in Egypt? If so, what will be those services? Quickly, before you take that, Raghav, I do understand that you have a hard stop at 10 o'clock. You have to leave now, I presume. Am I correct to say that?
Yes, unfortunately, actually, I've got another meeting where they're asking where I am, so I will
That's
have to
funny.
drop.
I just wanted to interrupt and really thank you for the time that you took to be with us and for the information that you have shared. We hope to bring a mission to the region, right? And if that's the case, we want to work with you to be able to arrange that. So separately, we're going to have a conversation with you later on that. Thank you so very much. And do enjoy the rest of the day.
All right. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks,
My
Raghav.
apologies for having to drop off. And please do let me know
That's
if
fine.
there's anything I can do to help. Thank you.
Sure. Thanks much.
Thank you.
Maha, did you get the question? Or would you like me to take it over?
No, I got it. Thank you, Ahmed, for the question. And I believe that this question can be answered with yes, there's for sure a room for services to be provided to the companies participating in such project. I would say that consultation and technology is a very promising opportunities for supporting this type of mega projects, and it won't require that financial capacity or a huge qualification in order to participate. So because a consultation, as I said, and technology is a support services that all of these projects would require. So I would say that if the opportunity is not there to participate in such project, supporting these projects with automating their process and with the data analysis, with the consultation, business consultation would be a very good field of services to be offered to these developers.
Thank you. Thanks, Maha. Jim, I hope that answers your question. Is there any other question from the companies that we have here? I'm not seeing any further question in the tab. Okay. If there is no further question, we just have one more poll to go through, and we can call it a day. So I'll ask my colleague to just put the poll on. Yes. Okay. Okay, I believe we do have the answers. Okay, I just want to say a big thank you to our panelists, Delali and Maha, for the time you took and the insight that you have shared with our companies. We do hope, the hope that we have after this session is really to be able to bring in a set of companies from Singapore for an actual mission to our markets. And when that occurs, we hope to be working with you, Dela and Maha, in terms of exposing our companies to some of the opportunities that we have on the ground. That will be it for me and for my colleague. I just wanted again to say thank you. We will be in touch with you, and for the Singapore companies that are on the session, if you have any question, any specific question, feel free to reach out to us, and we'll be more than happy to answer them. Maha, Delali, and all my colleagues and the Singapore companies that are here, a massive thank you to you for the time you took, and we will definitely be in touch with you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for organizing this.
I can see another question. Okay, yeah. Okay, it's Amit that was saying thank you. That's fine. Thanks so much to everyone, and enjoy the rest of the day.
Thank you, you too.
Thank you.